Hey there, and thanks so much for tuning in again this week to Weekly by Walker, where we really highlight those notable consumer credit trend changes week over week, looking across originations, portfolio, as well as under possible accommodations. So let's get started and jump right into portfolio. This week, total debt, accounts, balances, as well as delinquencies all decreased week over week. Some minimal, just like the change with the delinquency rate, which fell slightly to 0.6%. And that equates to a 4.1% decline week over week. One other notable change is for the first time since we've been tracking our weekly credit trends metrics, we actually saw an increase in utilization for bank card, which we'll highlight in just a moment. So first, we'll take a look at auto. Here, if you look at the outstanding balances, you'll see that overall, this now became flat. It had been rising week over week, but it does remain, up 0.7%. Compared to the pre-COVID period of February 2020. And our delinquency here also fell slightly from 0.85 to 0.83%. And that was driven by auto lease. Next, we'll take a look at our home equity installment. Here you'll see that we did have a slight increase in balance of 0.3% compared to prior week, but we still remain down 2.6% compared to the pre-COVID period of February 20. And our delinquency here declined as well week over week, 1.4%, and that was driven by installment. And here's that bank card utilization. Whereas you can see, if you look back here from our March 2nd period on, you'll see a continual step down until we got to a stabilization period. So over the last 7-8 weeks, we've been at the 19.3% and now inched right back up. We're at 19.2%. So I know it's a slight uptick, but this is the first time, that we've seen that. So we'll continue to follow that as well. So next, we'll jump into originations, where bank card, private label, and consumer finance all experienced the growth, looking at those May and June vintages compared to March and April. And the recent vintage weeks over the last 4, 6, 8 weeks have also been growing. Subprime increase, we really saw only a rise there with our revolving and installment accounts. So first, we'll take a look at private label. And here we'll pay close attention and note here the changes, right, in the build of those darker reds leading over into the light reds. You'll see here that we've actually seen some of the strongest periods, highest levels, if you will, since early March for this particular product set. So we'll be continuing to monitor that as well. And subprime share here has been on the decline. Next, we'll take a look at our HELOC revolving. There again, those builds, we saw a spike in May. Since then, it sort of trended down, but it has stabilized. And the continuation of that appears to be the same here with those lighter reds leading up into the darker. The installment from a home equity perspective, there again, from that spike in May, these appear to have stabilized and are holding here at the same levels over the last 3 weeks of our 8-week hold period. And then here's subprime, a slight increase week over week as well. Last, we're going to take a look at those accounts which are under some form of possible accommodation. So first, we're going to take a look at percent of accounts. So here we saw, just like last week and the week before, a slight decline, 0.1%. This week's driven by auto, credit card, first mortgage, as well as home equity. So we had a blend there of those products, very small, but still a blend. And that was driven really by the inferred as well as that disaster code being reported to us. So overall, we're holding at 3.1% of accounts under the form of possible accommodation. And if we look back at the March time period, that for reference, that was 1.5%. And last, we'll take a look at percent of balances. Here, that same hold, 0.1%. Week over week, overall, we're at 8.1% of accounts. And here the driver this week was credit card and home equity with the same codes of disaster and inferred being the drivers there. We would like to invite you to our next Market Pulse webinar series. It's going to be on August 20th at 2 p.m. The topic is going to be fraud mitigation on the road to digital. Here, we're going to really spotlight situation-specific identity and fraud trends. Plus, we're going to explore ways that businesses can better authenticate and validate information and identities to mitigate fraud. Additionally, as always, we will cover the customary economic, employment, and credit insights that are really critical to business today. And as always, we truly appreciate you joining in. We're here to help in any way that we can. Feel free to reach out to us using the contact information that's on your screen. If you have any questions about the data that was presented here today or any of our credit and data insight products, we're here to help in any way we can. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.